Well, hello. And good morning. I'm having a tired morning. We had a St. Patrick's celebration last night and it went a little late, and I'm still not recovered from daylight savings. This week has been ugh. Um, but here I am. Here we are. Welcome to the morning. We are in a using stuff up mood today. Ugh, I should get some coffee. Um, Isosceles Jones. Moistening right off the bat. I don't even have a glass ready. Hang on. Oh, welcome in. Let me go grab the water glass I was using earlier. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, oh, somebody's talking. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I've been requested a moisten. Um, Mac Gwynn, welcome, welcome. Thank you for the moisten. Mm, moist. Whew. Welcome, welcome. So, I guess I'll pop over here. Um, like I said, St. Patrick's yesterday. Got a got a little bit of a drink on, and I'm feeling it. I don't drink real heavy these days, so even moderately, it gets to me. Um, we're gonna cook this guy today. I should have scored his fat cap. I didn't score the fat cap. This is a section of pork belly. I threw it in the marinade yesterday around midday, so it's been in there for 20 hours ish. Um, I kind of what all went in there. Honey, soy, miso, cayenne, garlic, onion, paprika, gochugaru, black pepper. I just threw stuff at it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're getting out of flannel season. Although it's really cold today, we're gonna get out of flannel season. But I need something with a collar on it to hold my mic, or at least something with a button in the middle. So we're gonna figure out how to solve that in the summer when it's too hot for this. Last summer I didn't have the lapel yet, so I didn't. I wear whatever. But yeah, I quite like it too. I just need something a little bit thinner. Yeah, exactly. A nice house blend of whatever. And the marinade is also going to be turning into a braising liquid because we're gonna braise this. But I should probably get it out of there and score up the fat cap a little bit to help it along. Because I want to use that up. That's a use up. So I threw it in there because I knew I was going to do something with it, and we're going to use it up. I also got these mangoes. They were on sale, 30 cents each. This one, except for a little blemish right there, is probably going to hold. This one has started to go a little bit wrinkly on the surface and is good and tender to the squeeze. So definitely want to use that one up. So far we've got something with pork and mangoes. I've got noodles, so that would be an easy combo, but I'm not sure exactly what I want to do, but we have time because this guy has to go in the oven, which also needs to be turned on. So start by preheating your oven. For those of you following along at home, go back to yesterday and marinate your pork belly section in a blend of flavored stuff. I'm a terrible cooking show host. For anyone who wants to follow along, if all you're here is for entertainment, then great. For anyone who wants to follow along with my recipes, I could have used the mango tenderized meat. I'm pretty sure the honey that's in my blend here is doing a lot of the tenderizing of our meat because honey has those. I forget the name of the enzyme. Honey's got one of those enzymes that breaks down proteins. Which is why if you do a marinade with honey or pineapple or a couple other fruits, you want to be very careful how long you leave it in the marinade because it will cause the meat to go mushy. On account of those enzymes. They start to break down the proteins into just mush because they don't stop breaking it down. Oop. It's a blob of miso, but it looks a bit on the bottom. Okay. There's the thing. We're going to save our marinade to attempt to transform into a braising liquid. This guy's looking pretty good. The fat cap is pretty solid. Nice color though from mostly the soy sauce. I got a little weird spot there because there was a blob of miso stuck to the bottom. So it didn't really absorb there. Oh well. I tried mushing it around. I guess I missed a spot. Yeah, this is one of those things where I spotted it and I spotted it. I was like, ooh, I could figure out what to do with that. It was $4 on sale. Grab it and run. It was also pre-skinned. It came pre-skinned, which did mean we lost a little bit of fat. We don't have a solid fat cap there because they kind of planed through it. But aside from that little gap right there, nice even fat cap on it. I should have scored the fat before I marinated it to let the marinade flavors get in there through the fat and start working on the bit of the meat at the top. But I forgot to do that. So we'll do that now. It'll also help in cooking, so it's not like it's just straight up too late. Because the little squares that we're creating will separate from each other as it cooks and sort of open up the top. This is not a necessary step for sure, but I think it's going to make it a little bit prettier at the end. And if I had done it at the beginning, it would have helped the marinade. Okay. Okay. Porky knife in the sink. We'll get back to that in a sec. Let's see. I was initially thinking I was just going to roast this on the small sheet pan, on the eighth pan, but now I'm thinking I want to do it in a shallow braise, which means this pan is probably going to be our best bet, assuming it's long enough. It looks long enough. This is a ceramic casserole dish. Comes with a lid. Comes with two lids, actually. Comes with a glass lid for cooking and a plastic lid for storing. Get rid of that plastic lid. I think he's going to be a little bit crowded raw, but should fit perfectly once he contracts a little bit from cooking. Oh, actually, he fits perfectly now. Nice. Yes, another bargain purchase. This has been marinating since last night. Whoop, shoot, and I just dripped juice on the floor. So hold on a sec. I have to clean my floor before I track that around. Uh, Welcome in. Good morning. I'm going to get this in the oven, and then I'm going to make coffee and think about what I want to do with the rest of my life. Uh, Pretty much everything I eat these days is bargain purchases, unless I have a specific, really enticing idea for the show, and then I go and find whatever I need for that. Although the pan, no, I've had the pan. I've had the pan for a while. The Where did I get this? Was from my old house. This was abandoned when I was living at that house with those other three people. Um, when they all moved out, and I was the last one cleaning stuff up. Um, this was one of the items that was left just abandoned, and it's got all the pieces. So it's got the dish, the plastic lid, and the glass lid. So everything's intact. I've used it quite a bit, actually. It's very, very handy. I think I would have never considered this thing until I had it, but now that I have it, the things that it's one of those devices. The things that it's for, it's quite good at. Um, the meat was a bargain purchase, though. Uh, oh, there's water in the marinade too, which is now a braising liquid. Okay, now I have a reference recipe for the honey soy marinated pork belly, which is almost what we have here. Um, that has me started at 400 and then bring it down to 275 and cover. Um, Presumably to get it ripping hot and started, and then bring it down for a nice slow braise. So we're gonna do that. It's hard to go wrong with something like this, honestly, unless you just wildly overcook it. Because if you undershoot it, you can just put it in the oven for more time at like a 250, 275 to push through to cook and tenderize the interior some more. Um, uh, the reference recipe for actually a larger piece of pork belly than I have here um, has it's 30 minutes at 400 and then 30 minutes at the lower temperature. So not even that long. Um, it is assuming a marinade with acid and honey. I didn't put any vinegar in my marinade. So I don't know if that's going to affect it. Mine does have quite a bit of honey in it. So the honey, the tenderizing effect of an enzyme marinade like that should speed up the surface cooking part. Um, waiting for the oven to come up to temp. Um, we got lots of time to think about it though, and it's one of those things. Assuming the times on this reference that I'm not following really at all um, are right. he just has it. That's an interesting recipe. He actually bakes it in a um, Pyrex dish, marinades it, and bakes it in the same dish. It's an interesting one pot thing. I don't think this is going to be completely meltingly tender if I follow this verbatim. I don't think it's going to be in there long enough for that. But my oven just clicked. So I'm going to put this guy in, and then I can think about it. Again, this long, slow cooks like this are, in my opinion, the easiest. They're also, actually, before I do that, before I put it in, I was just saying, long, slow cooks like this, I think are the easiest thing. At least they're my thing. I'm getting some fresh marinade on the top since I scored it up there. You can at least get a little bit. Should have poured it over the top when I was pouring it out of the bag. I also didn't add any oil to this. I'm assuming that the pork fat is going to be plenty of fat for this. When you are cooking a piece of pork belly like this, do be sure that the fatty side is at the top, so that as it melts in the oven, I mean, whether you're grilling it or smoking it or whatever long slow cook you're giving it, fat at the top, so that as the fat melts, it sinks into the meat part and keeps it nice and juicy. But we're gonna plunk this guy in there, uncovered, hot oven. I'm gonna freak my oven out for a sec. Okay. Yep, I freaked the oven out. Okay. With that on the works, I can start thinking about the rest of the morning. Coffee. We're moving on to coffee. Which is not a complicated recipe, but I think I need some coffee, so. How is everyone else's morning going? I've been telling you about mine. I'm moving slow. Shining. Welcome, welcome. I had I think I had one Jameson too many last night because I'm feeling it this morning. But just one. I didn't crazy overshoot. I stopped myself at the right, at a good amount. Well, cats do seem more important than coffee. I've actually really dialed back on coffee lately. I have not given up coffee. I briefly gave up coffee. I gave up coffee for about a week. Coincidentally at the start of Lent, but that was coincidence. With the goal of getting myself kind of re-neutraled with coffee. Because I like coffee, but what I don't like is feeling obligated to have coffee. I pushed through the headache phase, and now I have coffee sometimes. We go for it. Coffee is now as in the words of Cookie Monster, a sometimes food. But this morning is one of those times for sure. Um, oh, so we're gonna take a brief breather here while I make a cup of coffee. Um, yeah. So I've also picked up some decaf so that I can have coffee when I feel like I want a cup without necessarily diving into the caffeine in the event that I'm already feeling pretty awake. So, so yeah. Felix, you are first. Welcome in. Congratulations. You are forever first today, and no one can ever take that away from you, except me. I can take that away from you. Uh, but yeah, like I said, I decided to kick coffee just long enough to get rid of the dependency headaches. Um, I'm looking at my cupboard for other ideas, other things we could throw together. Um, pork, mango, noodles. So far, I've got pork, mango, and noodles, and that could be the thing, but I feel like I need something more. I feel like we need something more. I've got a half of a cucumber that's going a little bit gnarly in ways that I've never seen a cucumber go gnarly before. Um, I'm curious to cut into it and see what it looks like on the inside. So maybe we'll use that gnarly cucumber. Here's the cucumber. I was holding it right outside the camera. Here's the cucumber. Half a cucumber. It's not gone slimy. It's nice and firm. Um, it's developing these little bumps that certainly weren't there like that when I got it. This side has like turned into cut leather. Strange behavior on Mr. Cucumber. I'm a little bit curious as to see what it looks like on the inside. Yeah, I'm that may be less of a joke than it seems because that could be what's happening. It might be fermenting inside of its own skin, um, which would be a little horrifying and probably not the kind of thing you should eat. So I'm curious to see what it looks like in there. Coffee. So I've got a tiny French press. Makes 1 cup of coffee, which makes it very hard to share. But when it's just me, it's super convenient because I can have my 1 cup of coffee and not have a bunch of extra coffee after that. Oh, I should have oiled the top. Oh well. Um, what else goes in with the things that I've laid out? Google, answer my question. My question is the words mango noodle. Wow, there's actually mango, like noodles made out of mango. Horrifying. Spicy peanut noodle with mango. That sounds good. That's an idea. I've got peanuts too. Although the pork is bringing the fatty component to this. We have an ad coming up. Good time to think. Last night I was talking about using mango and coconut and cashews and pork and spaghetti. The spaghetti was because I had such an interesting experience with the stir-fried spaghetti when I didn't make it live. I made it as a separate thing, but it worked so great that I wanted to show it off at some point. Because you can stir-fry spaghetti, like Italian spaghetti. And it actually works. But what else we got going on? What else we got going on? What else we got going on? What would you be having for breakfast if you had the ingredients that I have? That's the real question. Why am I the idea man? Um, let's get out our cutting board. We're going to need it eventually anyways. Slide the coffee up a little bit. And check out this mango with, I want to say that, yeah. It's probably going to take me a while to get into this mango regardless, so. Oh, I had a follow. Thank you for the follow. I don't have follow alerts, and I have to remember to look over at the thing. I've got too many screens open these days. Now that I've got the bot running, although it only has default bot commands. Oh, I suppose you couldn't even hear me thanking you for the follow because the ad is still running. Honed up the knife. Now the trouble with mangoes is there's a seed in there, and it's like the full length of the thing, and about that wide, but only about that thick. It's always slightly off center. I have a heck of a time finding it in there. And if you take the skin off first, the mango becomes extremely slippery. Oh, and this guy's, they're also have a pretty tough. Hey, I got it. Hey. Nice and hard right there. Slid right past it. I slid right past it. Just like I definitely did on purpose and not by sheer luck. Bam. Okay, that worked out great. Little bits of the husk. And then this part is the part that's hard to get anything off of because the seed is like such a weird shape in there. but it's a shame to let it go to waste because it's such a ripe, nice, beautiful mango. So the mango is an evolutionary uh, anachronism. Uh, it's adapted a tough rind and a gigantic seed that's very hard, with the intent of, or with the as an adaptation to being eaten by an animal that is extinct. Um, there's no living animal in the mango's native range that could swallow this thing whole. There's a bunch of those all over the world. Several of them have been preserved by humans who have discovered them to be very delicious. Mangoes are doing okay without us. They can still just fall, and they get carried off by smaller things. And then the seed is dropped because it's inedible. Avocados. Avocados were not doing so hot on their own before people discovered them and was like, well, these are great. Um, they got the same thing where they got a giant seed that nothing that lives where they live could ever swallow. Uh, sharp-edged spoon. Sharp-edged spoon. So to get the mango out of its skin at this phase, I was snacking on bits of mango. Shining, you have resubscribed for 9 months. That's a sub baby. That's a Twitch baby. Congratulations. Congratulate. I need to do alerts for things like that. We could have an hour of baby crying noises whenever someone gets their 9 month sub. And if two people get it at the same time, they would overlap. That's the correct use of audio alerts, right? Also, 9 months, geez. Time flies. Mm. Mango is good. By the way, hot take. Potentially the hottest of takes. Mango, tasty. And a ripe mango, this is the easiest way to get it out, is once you've got these sides cut off, just get a spoon with a pretty narrow edge on it and scrape it up against the skin and throw away the skin. The skins are actually, I looked this up, the skins are not only edible, but extremely nutritious. Um, so if you can stomach them, go ahead and eat those mango skins. They are, however, generally considered by most people to be disgusting. They're very fibrous and very bitter. So Daring statement indeed. That is what I do around here. I make bold statements regarding mangoes. Subscribe for nonstop bold statements about mangoes. Snack on that piece. Okay. 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 Well, we trimmed out the mango. Very ripe. Licking my fingers because I want the taste, but I also want to get the juice off of me briefly here. Don't need a full wash for that. Just a quick rinse. The sugary liquid will rinse away. Okay. Still thinking about what we're doing. The coffee is definitely ready by now, so let's press that out and pour myself a cup. I'm probably going to end up with a break. My shows are usually short enough that I don't go for a break, but I have a feeling the coffee might require one. If you know what I mean. Coffee. That mug is too big for that amount of coffee. Hard to tell from the top. But at least you can still see the Cornell logo on the side there. And my favorite way to have coffee is a splash of cream, no sugar. I find the cream does a nice job of balancing out any bitterness because I have a habit of over steeping my coffee and it becomes a little bit bitter. The cream evens that out. If I was better at the actual making of the coffee, I could probably get away with not doing the cream. But I don't care to care. Also, a lot of store-bought coffees are rather bitter just because they're not going through the care required. Because they're trying to produce a large quantity commercial coffee. Prost. That warms your bones. Okay. I'm going to get a pot and some water on the go because I've decided firmly noodles. Quantity of pork I have is going to be more than I can use in one go. So we can potentially come up with other recipes or other dishes to serve it with. But for this one, I'm going to make some kind of a tropical noodle thing. Which means I need noodles. So we'll put a pot of water on to boil and mango in half. Slice into some chunks. Honestly, one mango is probably too much for one serving of this as well. Uh, there's a little bit of a brown spot right there that I think I want to cut away. And the little scrappy pieces are going to just be snacking mango. Why does no one talk about how good mangoes are? Why does Congress never talk about how good mangoes are? Feels like the kind of thing they should be on top of. You know, congressional hearing on mangoes. If my representative talked about mangoes more often, I would vote for him. That's my single issue. Okay, I'm gonna get those mangoes off of that in a bowl, into a bowl to hang on to them. Mangoes go real brown real fast when you cut them. I can't remember if they do. They're more acidic. Fruit-based political system would be much better than whatever the hell we have now. Yes, agreed. Seems like the one we've settled on as the standard is not working. Well, I know apples go brown real fast. Uh, I just but I know other fruits do as well. Avocados go brown real fast, for example. I just don't know if mangoes are acidic enough to hold up. I've never tested it. And I'm not going to test it because I'm going to take some of this here lime juice and go spritz. Toss around, toss around, toss around. Ooh, that smells good. So, do you know why? You know that acid prevents oxidation. But do you know why acid prevents fruit oxidation? Ooh, my goodness, that pork is looking great in there. That was pretty hearty. No, I'm dumb. Uh, so, if you understand how an acid works, they provide free hydrogen ions in solution. That's why you can have a powdered acid and it won't act as an acid until you get it into a liquid where the hydrogen ions free up into the solution. And a base is the opposite, and it pulls those hydrogen ions or provides hydroxyl ions. Hydroxyl? OH negative. Into solution. When you're oxidizing something like this, what's happening is free oxygen from the air is getting in and bonding to the fruit. But if it hits an acid liquid on the surface, those free hydrogens grab that oxygen and bind it up before it can grab onto the fruit. So you're not preventing the oxidation. What you're doing is you're providing the oxygen something that it wants to oxidize more than the fruit. So, in theory, you could accomplish the same thing without the extra acid by just storing your fresh cut fruit in a completely oxygenless environment. And I think that's where the idea of storing avocados in ice water comes from, because you're depriving them of access to air, so then they don't go brown, and then the cold sort of makes them hold their ripeness. I have a feeling that my water is going to boil sooner than I want it to. The noodles might end up overcooked, but we could work with that. We could work with that. Let me wash off my pig juice so that I can get this board out of the way, because I think I'm going to need the sink. Mmm, pig juice. Because that water's already starting to think about boiling. Okay. That guy there. Wash, 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 wash. Boy, I use a lot of spoons these days. I think I need more spoons. I think I need more like tasting spoons. I use a lot of spoons these days. Who knew? There's well, one of the Bon Appetit chefs just walks around with tons of spoons in his front shirt pocket. Oh, that's a weird quirk. Nope, makes total sense. Needs those spoons. Tons of spoons. Okay, I think I've got a notion of where we're headed. So we're gonna end up with like a chili lime mango thing. I've got a chili. I've actually had these. This is another thing. Back on the trend of let's use stuff up. This is a jalapeno. As you can see, it's gone wrinkly. It's still good, but it's wrinkly, which means I probably should use it before it moves from wrinkly to gone off. And then these noodles I've got, so I can get this package out of here without spilling them everywhere, because it's not a reclosable package. These noodles, they're much sturdier than like your instant ramen. They take well to a stir fry, or like a tossed high heat fry. They're cooking once they're cooked. So I think what we're going to do is boil them up and then set them aside. And then I can assemble this all into a... Yeah, we're going to assemble this all at the end. So it won't matter that these are having to be cooked a little bit early, because I would like them to stop and rest. I got these. These are nice noodles. And actually, they only take 3 to 4 minutes to boil, anyways, which is about the same time as instant. So if you're buying them in bulk, these are actually very economical. They do require a big pot. You can't because they're long noodles. You can't just toss them in a small pot like you can with a little brick of instant ramen. But aside from needing a big pot, they're super convenient. As you can see, they shrink. They start cooking very, very quickly and just sort of sink into the pot. Well, thank you for the moisten. I'm going to give them a generous pinch of salt. And also turn the heat down so they don't foam over on me. Don't foam over on me. Thank you for the moisten. Moist. Don't foam over on me. Okay, I think they've stabilized. The only real downside with those noodles is the fact that they don't come in a reclosable container. Sorry, I'll give you a better moist. Moist. Okay, let's get a dish ready for them as well. It was requested. Can't deny the moist. How long has that pork been in there? Ooh, long enough that I definitely want to turn it down, 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 and put the lid on, prevent the top from drying out. Let me show it off real quick. Since we got the camera over here, and I'm about to close it up, let me show it off real quick. Ugh. Without spilling it. That is what it looks like at this stage. I'm placing a lid upon it to trap the steam in there. And then we are, once again, carefully, because it is hot, moving it back into the oven. So the top of it has started to go crispy on us. I think I'm probably going to take the lid off at the end when I'm ready for it and give it a quick blast with the broiler just to finish off that top. But putting the lid on will trap steam in there, which will help it cook through. And we've turned the temperature down from 400 to 275 because we no longer need to blast the exterior. Oh, and my noodles are trying to foam themselves over again. Don't foam over. Don't foam over. I'm getting a slightly larger bowl. Set a timer for what? The pig meat? I was going to eyeball it. we're winging it. It's being wung. Okay, these noodles are coming out. The thing I hate about the noodle scooper is inevitably you always get one that goes right through the middle and then folds over, and then you gotta pull it out. Every time I've used this, there's been at least one noodle that I've had to pull through the hole. Noodles. Bring these noodles back over here. And we are going to, we're not going to use them immediately. We're going to give them a shot of sesame oil and a shot of rice vinegar to prevent them from gluing themselves together in a big mass. And to give them a little bit of flavor. You could do this with a neutral oil, but then you wouldn't have the flavor. The vinegar's not necessary for the sticking part. It's adding some flavor. The oil is going to prevent them from turning into a block while I have them set aside. And I do actually want them to cool off a little bit. So I'm going to spread them out as in the bowl as well. I think they'll be easier to work with when I toss them in because I'm going to fry them. We're going to fry them later. We'll set those aside out of the way. I guess we're going to keep plossing our Mises. Get mango. So have you guys heard of these mango things? They're pretty good. Okay. Like I said, this jalapeno has gone wrinkly, but it's still good. But being wrinkly means that it is a little bit harder to cut because it gives when you put pressure on it with the knife rather than cutting immediately. And yeah, I'm leaving the seeds in for this. We're going to make this a spicy boy. There should be plenty of sweetness overall to offset the spice. That's probably the right amount. For that amount of mango, honestly. So then the other one would be for the other half. Now that I've cut it, it's going to go off real quick. So I'll probably have to eat this later today again as well. Sometimes they do increase in spice as they sit around. I've noticed that, but I've also noticed sometimes they don't. And it's really hard to tell by looking at them. Should I put nuts in? I don't think I should put any more nuts in this. Any more nuts? There's so many nuts. a great wealth of nuts was bestowed upon me. And get my this hot boiling water out of the way. So in my head, you should every once in a while pour a whole pot of boiling water down your kitchen sink to clear stuff up. I'm not sure if that is actually logically sound, but it feels right to me personally. No, I'm just going to let these be. So, an advantage of having the peppers be dried up and a little bit wrinkly is that there's less water in them for the cooking phase. So they'll actually skip to starting to brown faster than fresh ones because you don't have to force the water out of them first. Wet plant tissues. Oh, oh. Wet plant tissues don't brown. They got to push the water out of them. Finding spear is. I'm not going to read that aloud, just in case this is being recorded by the CIA. Which, as we all know, they are illiterate and thus they cannot read chat, but they're definitely listening to the audio. What was I going to add? I was going to add flavors and an onion and some garlic. Do I have half an onion left? No, I used that. I feel like pouring boiling water down your drain, because inevitably bits of cooking fat get in the drain, and some of them will catch on the sides, and some of them will. Yes, the NSA is reading. The CIA is listening. What was I saying? Boiling water. Bits of cooking fat will eventually catch on the sides of your drains, just because it's unavoidable. And the boiling water will get them to let go and wash away. At least that's the logic in my head. Also, there's really no better way to dispose of boiling water after you've boiled a bunch of noodles than to pour it down your kitchen sink, because it's a heat-safe, large volume drain. Don't pour a bunch of boiling water into your toilets. Toilets are not designed for high temperatures. Fun fact. And there. Ooh. Toilets do handle quite a lot. And I suppose if you really want to, I'm not going to stop you, but not recommended. I've seen a couple of those it's clickbait nonsense videos of look what we did with a toilet, and then they turn the toilet into a grill, and like multiple different people have turned the toilet into a grill, And the end result of all of them is a completely destroyed toilet and a bunch of ruined meat. Um, Not that boiling water is hot enough to shatter the porcelain, but boiling water is hot enough to damage all the little rubber gaskets, and that's what we were worried about. The all the little moving parts in the top of your toilet are not meant for boiling water. You will destroy them. I'm going to slice up the rest of this mango. If I don't use it all, I can just eat it. Which I was already kind of doing. I'll eat that piece. Mango. Boy, I sure do like trying out these weird exotic fruits that no one's ever heard of. Such a weird name on this one, too. Mango. Looks nothing like a man. And it's not really going anywhere. I do kind of want to go and grab one of the weird fruits that I've never heard of and just dive in. I've done that before. I've done that before, and it's worked out, but I've also done that, and it's not worked out. You remember? I don't know if you remember. Do you remember when I got that giant avocado? It was like 4 times the size of a standard Haas avocado. It was this huge thing. It was probably a little bit bigger than the mango there. And then I opened it up, and it was really like hard on the inside. I thought it was underripe when I picked it up. It was like when I bought it, it was hard, and I let it sit around because avocados kind of ripen up and soften up as they sit. And I let that one sit. Um, I let that one sit thinking it would soften up, and then when I got into it, it was like shot through with a lot of extra brown, which means it was overripe. And my theory was that it had been picked too, like, much too early, so it never properly ripened up. Well, I've seen those again, those same giant avocados, and they are always very hard. So now I'm thinking that they're a different variety that is meant to be treated in a different way. So I kind of want to get one again and figure out what to do with it. Because they're all, every single one of them is rock hard. So I'm thinking they must be like for cooking because they're so hard and they've got such a like I don't know, they're so strange. Um, I decided to dice up the or slice up the remaining onion and the remaining pepper because I don't want to have these things sitting around. I'll just have leftovers. Yeah, it ended up being my theory was ended up being that it was both underripe and overripe, but now I'm thinking that I was just wrong and didn't know what I was doing with it. Which, thinking back, is probably the most logical answer anyways, because like why would they be? Well, the thing is, I don't know I don't know what the name of the avocado is. I don't know what it's called. I know there's a million different varieties of avocado out there. The other thing is it wasn't expensive. It wasn't a terribly expensive thing. But I'm wondering if you could like slice it and fry it. Okay. Flossed those Mises. Let's get some dry spices together. Well, I did do some searching to see if I could track it down, and I didn't have any luck. This is gochugaru, as you can see by the name. This has ended up being less spicy than I was thinking it was going to be, so I've been using it as a fun, sort of bright flavoring. It is still spicy. We're gonna make this. We're gonna make this a spicy. But it's less strongly spicy than I initially thought it was going to be when I got it. So I've been gradually more and more generous with it as I've been using it. Yeah, it could be. I wish it had the name of it on it. Like the avocados are, depending where you go. Some of the places the avocados are just listed as avocado, but often the standard avocado that we get are labeled, and they are the Haas avocado, and that is the one you're thinking of when I say avocado. Got a really soft, creamy flesh. They're about the size of a pear. Um, they're dark and bumpy on the outside when they're ripe. Um, that's just one variety of avocado. Uh, Black pepper, gochugaru, onion powder, garlic powder, fresh garlic, fresh garlic. Ooh, screech. That was a heck of a screech. So yeah, I would love to know what they. I would love to know about them, and I want to kind of get one and run experiments. Because yeah, I could do my diligence and probably work out some solution, but also we could just find a solution. Someone is clearly buying them because they keep appearing at the store. So it's not like it was a test item that the store got in and then they just stopped carrying. They clearly have been sticking with them because I keep seeing them. Which means there is definitely a way to use them correctly. But I also never see anyone buying them when I'm there. And I've tried asking the employees in the produce department, and they more often don't have any idea how to cook any of the exotic fruits that they're peddling, um, which is not a surprise. But ah well. I should talk to the produce department manager and ask about the big weird avocado. That might be a way to broach it. At the very least, maybe they could give me the name of the avocado varietal. I'm not going to pulverize this garlic today. We're going to slice it. So I'm going to take the little nubbins off the tips. Get out a larger knife. Give a good crush to each one. Don't do what I'm doing right now. Learn the proper technique of curling your fingers under, and do it even when it feels weird, because it's good practice and prevents you from cutting your fingertips off. Also, don't use the blade of the knife to scrape the juices off your fingers. Also a thing that you shouldn't be doing. Uh, Also, don't cut towards your hand like this, especially with something that's very firm. Uh, Really, if you're coming here for cooking technique, for good kitchen practices, I do everything wrong. Whatever you see me doing, do the opposite. This ginger's gone a little bit gnarly on the inside, so I'm glad I'm using a big chunk of it up. So I'm glad I'm using a big chunk of it because it looks like this little stem wasn't going to stay good. Normally, I'm not an advocate for peeling your ginger because the ginger skin tastes like nothing. So it's not like it's polluting your flavor with some offness. It's just that it's little brown flecks in whatever your finished thing is, and sometimes a little bit of a fibrousness. But peeling your ginger also lets you take a look at the interior. And if your interior is badly discolored, maybe don't use it. My interior is doesn't have that nice sort of yellowish tone to it. I bought ginger from a different store this time for this ginger, and I'm wondering if that's the culprit. It's just a lower quality. Because the place I normally get the ginger from, they had ginger, but it was so huge. The rhizomes were so thick that I was worried that I'd have these big cut edges that would then go all creepy, hanging out in the air after I used some of it. So I went to a different place and I found ginger that was uh, much thinner. But now I'm wondering if it's a lower quality as well, because it's a little bit discolored on the inside. Just a little bit, not a ton, but noticeable. Noticeable to me, maybe not noticeable to you. Get out my. Ooh, we could use the big wok for this instead of the steel skillet. Yeah. Here's my wok. Flat bottom wok for use on the electric stovetop. I've not taken amazing care of it. Uh, I've done a few, I think, regretful things. I think I've stabilized it after that, but it's got some little nicks in the surface. And it's a little bit spotty, but it's not. I think we've stabilized it. It took me a little while to get this walk back to a place I was happy with it. And now we're going to put some acidic foods in it and destroy my patina. Maybe I shouldn't use the wok for this before I put anything in it. No, it's meant to be used. I'll just have to reseason it. It's not like we're dumping a ton of acid in it. We're dumping a bit of acid in it. Just make sure it's oiled up before I throw anything in it, and we should be fine. We're also waiting for that pig meat, which I'll need to probe the interior of and also test for tenderness. It's not going to be fall apart, melt in your mouth, super tender, because we're not leaving it in there for 5 hours. I think before I jump in on any of this, do I want to add anything else to what I'm working on? I've got some dry spices. I've got some garlic, some ginger, peppers, onions, mango, coconut. I did suggest coconut earlier. It's not unreasonable. It'll add some more sweetness. And I've got some coconut just hanging out here. And I like coconut. Taste the coconut by itself. Yeah. Maybe not a ton of coconut, but a little bit. Oh, sorry. It's sweetened shredded coconut. So it would be bringing some sugar to the party, which we don't have any added sugars at the moment. We only have what's in the fruit. And normally you would want to add some sugar to your sauce mix. Speaking of sauce mix, there's no sauce at the moment. That's a consideration. Okay, that's a consideration. I have to make sure that I have some kind of a sauce. Cornstarch, cold water, let the cornstarch hydrate, and then when you want to thicken up your sauce at the end, add this. You know what we could use as a sauce? is the extra marinade. I didn't add any acid to it, so it's not an acidic liquid, and it'll get and the pork that's in it will get cooked because we're yeah, I think that's a good idea because I want to avoid adding a bunch of extra acids to this because I don't want to totally etch out my pan um, again because we've done that before. Ad coming up. I'm gonna take a peek at my pig meat while the ad is coming up with the temperature probe. With the temperature probe, we're going to use the long probe today. I actually got a super long probe that I probably should be using for this. I found it at a thrift store. One of those ones with a probe and a really long heat safe cord, so you can put it in the meat and then the temperature gauge is outside the oven. And that would have been perfect for this because I want to know what the interior of the meat is at pretty much all times. What side are you guys on? On the wrong side. Although you can't see anything anyways. Well, pork is definitely cooked to safety spec. I poked the probe in the hottest part of the thickest part of the meat, and it registered 190. So I could, in theory, take it out now and eat it. Should I? Should I? Should I? Oop, not that one. That one. Let's get the heat going on this wok. And I think we're going to start throwing stuff in it. I'm tempted to take the pork out, cut what I need now, and then put the remaining back in to continue braising. Let's move my Plast Mises over to the work table here. Oh, I need to take that back. Got one of those returnable milk jugs that needs to be returned. It kind of hangs out over here because I haven't gone over to return it. Get all the things over here. And get a tool ready and a thing to hold the tool so it doesn't drip all over the place and make a colossal mess. What do you think? The pork is cooked to edibility. What should I? Ooh, it's a dilemma. It's a dilemma. It's a dilemma for me. Once we start cooking, once food goes in this this wok, I need to be ready for it. So I'm gonna get out a plate and just have it be handy. I'm gonna take the gentlemen and move them aside. Because with wok cookery, the metal is thin, it heats up fast, and once it starts going, it goes, and you can't step away and leave it. Um, so, but the pork wasn't going to go in the wok anyways. It was going to be sliced and put on the finished plate, potentially with a little sear. You could sear it in the wok after. Okay. I'm trying to think out loud, so that you can follow my thought process. Because otherwise I'd be saying this all to myself and no one would know what the heck, or I'd be thinking this all to myself and no one would know what the heck's going on as I'm sort of pacing back and forth and mulling. Okay, okay, okay. Um, are you hot yet? Or rather, how hot are you? Pretty hot is the answer. Get our ginger and garlic in there. And some salt to get us started. It's not as ripping hot as I thought it was going to be, which is good, because it means I don't have to be really super concerned about it burning immediately. Um, throw the dry spices in. Oop. Oh, you know what would be good in this? Ooh, okay, it's not too late, but I have to work quickly now. But you know what would be good in this? Some Szechuan pepper. So I'm going to really quickly crush up some. over here, over here. You can get that in there. Oop, and I can smell it starting to go. So man, go. Okay, okay, we're getting little toasty edges on our onions. The mango is never going to really toast up because it is so wet. You'd end up turning it into fruit leather if you wanted to get it blackening. Ooh, boy, a little bit of spice in the air we got going on. I want to add sesame oil, but I don't want to add it too early because the sesame oil has all those wonderful flavors in it, and they'll burn if you add it in too early. It's really meant to be a finishing oil, but I like to add it when it's still hot to help things along. Although there's sesame oil in the noodles, so maybe we don't need the extra. My onions keep sticking to the back of my scooper scraper. Let's put in this stuff. This will try to stick. This will try to stick very quickly because of the sugars in it. Oh, very fragrant. Very fragrant. Oh, and our noodles did end up sticking to themselves a bit. Let's get them in there. Not quite enough oil on them to fully prevent them from sticking back to each other. Which actually means that I probably want to add some oil now to loosen them up. So we will add that sesame oil I just mentioned. Okay, noodles, guys gotta. Okay. Tell you what, my onions keep wanting to stick to the spoon. Give a little extra scraper on the side just to scrape off the scraper. Okay. That is pork marinade. Drekino. Tahini. Well, I wasn't going for a tahini sauce. That's an interesting idea. Also, welcome in. That's an interesting idea, but I wasn't going for that flavor. And I'm also kind of winging it. But welcome in. Uh, starch water. Oh, definitely in the realm of having to reseason the pan already. I've scratched it. Even with this round-edged one, I end up scratching it. I have some tahini somewhere hanging around, but we're past that point anyways. It would have been an interesting idea um, at an earlier phase. That's got to come out of its pan. I've already turned the heat off. You know what? That's too much. That's definitely serving for two. And I'm going to separate a chunk of it out now. For leftovers, because I should not eat this whole thing. And if I serve it to myself in a big bowl like that, I will definitely eat the whole thing. So let's do that real quick. Cooking for one is hard. Quantities just want to be bigger. Also, all the mangoes ended up at the bottom, so we're going to have to rearrange the thing here anyways, just so that we can see our delicious ingredients. I use tongs. So we're getting roughly half of it out of there so that I don't have a gigantic feast. I knew this was going to happen, which is why I only was going to add half the mango and half the onion and pepper, and then I ended up adding all of it because I didn't want it to sit around. Okay. Okay, and then we clean up the plate, and then we can add our finishing touches. Okay. Oh, I licked my finger, and I can tell you, we got some spice. Okay, that wipe us down because I made a mess. And really, I should be wiping down the inner rim as well for picturesque plating. Like that. That's something they don't show you in the kitchen, is that after plating, fancy restaurant, they dig a paper towel right down into the edge of the food and wipe to clean up the edge of the plate. And that's how they get it there, because they don't perfectly plate it the first time. They definitely slop it, but then they want that nice perfect edging. Everyone likes a little bit of perfect edging sometimes. Okay, that is going to set aside for a moment. And we are going to pop me back over here for. Are you still hot? Burner is still hot. Can't use that burner. Use that. Unfortunately, that's the viewing burner. Well, I can, because like this thing is hot, so it's not like it can't go on a hot surface. This guy, this is the guy. This is the guy, and as we tested earlier, our temperature is up for eating. I just think that it might not be fully tenderized, and it's also a little bit, you can't see it because of the angle you're at, but if I rotate it, we have some variable fatness. So I would probably like slices from that end. Saving sauces in small jars. I might also be doing that. Do you viewers from last week, do you remember what this brown sauce is? It's horrifying. I saved it. I saved it against all of my better judgment. Because I thought, well, maybe I'll figure out what to do with it. It is indeed the chocolate veloute. Oh, from Violet. Welcome over. I saw Violet on this morning. I popped in and grabbed my card packs. Ooh, boy. Okay, here's the deal. That's got to go on the board, but it's tender enough that it wants to fall apart. So we're going to have to double tong it. Perfect. The fact that it's tender enough that it wants to sort of sag and break is a good sign. It means we probably might not need to put it back in at all. I'm going to leave the oven on for now, just in case I want to put it back. Here we are. God, I hate this camera. I hate this camera. I wish I could have a better camera here. This one. You, right there. Um, but this is the most awkward place. I personally did not eat all the pies from Pie Day, but I brought the leftover pies to St. Patrick's, our St. Patrick's fest, and shared them. And actually, I didn't look at how much of the pecan pie was gone. The potato pie got polished off. There's still 3/4 of a pecan pie. No, we're gonna have to use my fingers on this. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. That's doing the things I want it to do. The knife just slides through it once you get past the top crust. The knife just slides through, which is a good sign for strong tenderness. Reminder, this has been marinating overnight, and there was honey in the marinade, so that is a tenderizing agent. There's enzymes in honey that soften up meat. If you leave it in there too long, it'll just turn to mush. But I want... okay. We also braised it, which helps. Mm. My only concern is that the fat cap might not be fully rendered down because it's only been in there for an hour and a half. It takes some time to really render out that fat cap. But this was the leaner end anyways, so I think we might be in good shape. Pork belly is one of those cuts that I always want to work with, but when it's not on sale, it's a little bit too pricey. It's a little bit more than I'm willing to indulge on, so I was really happy to see this one. Catch it on sale. I don't want to... I'm licking my fingers, so I'm inevitably tasting this before I deliver my tasting notes. But I'd rather not spoil it by telling you in advance. I'm also going to put a little bit of our sauce. Normally, when you marinate something, you do not use the marinade as a sauce. Oh God, there's so much rendered. Okay, I think we've rendered out the fat cap because there's a ton of rendered out pork fat in my dish here. That's going to be fun. Our sauce, a marinade isn't thick enough to act as a true sauce, but I wanted to drizzle it over the top. Since it's been in there for an hour and a half, it's all been sterilized, but otherwise, normally you discard leftover marinade. You have to cook it. You have got to cook it pretty soon after you use it if you want to keep using it, because there's raw meat in there. There's raw meat and it's in a solution with sugar, so any bacteria that are in there are going to go crazy. Anyways, let's... You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut one more slice of this. And we're going to take a photo of the slab with a slice. So BRB, grabbing a snap of this. That came out great, and it didn't take nearly as long. I've done this with beef, like a braise, and it takes so much longer. Um, okay. Um, Although you never see beef belly as a an offered cut. This guy is also going to get photos. And yes, I'm getting close-ups. I've been, I think, at least I hope, getting better at the food photography. I need an actual camera, not just my phone camera. Phone cameras are pretty good, but an actual camera would be better, because they've also gotten very good. Okay, tasting time. We will find out. Oh, I got another follow. Thank you for another follow. 27 minutes ago. That's what I get for not having follow alerts. Um, um, we're not going to beat around the bush. We are going to go right in for one of these pieces of pork and give it a good old taste right from the top where the fat cap was. Mmm. Mm-hmm. So it's not melt in your mouth tender. This isn't like a barbecue where it just disintegrates when you touch it. It's got a good little like resistance in the meat part, but the fat cap part is like buttery, like unset jello. It's just your teeth just glide through it. The flavor is rich, rich and very fatty. Savory, sweet, not spicy. Interestingly, because I did put some spices, some hot spices in the marinade, and they appear to have gotten lost in all the rest of it. Mmm, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. That was not hard to make. That actually was very easy to make. It was almost entirely hands off. Let's taste this part. Mmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's your spice and your acid and your bright, nice bright fruit flavors. A good strong burn, but not like blow your head off. That is an excellent counterpoint to the meat, because even though our sauce here and our stir fry is fairly oily, it's got these bright acidic tropical flavors in it, which makes it really good at balancing out this really fatty, savory cut of meat. Uh, we've got to try a piece, try a bite with a little bit of everything. Mmm. Mmm. Oh, I just saw the top of my head. Oh, poor top of head. Okay. And of course, the bite with some of the pork and some of the mango and some of the noodles and all of that sauce is the perfect bite. It's rich and savory and bright and acidic and it all balances together and it's just Take this as a lesson in balancing your dishes because what we got is something that's fatty and savory with a bit of sweetness, and we balanced it off with something that's spicy and acidic and starchy. We've got a little bit of everything in there. We've got fat, sugar, salt, uh, acidity. Pork and mango are also a good pairing. The flavors work well. Um, yeah, that's real good. Um, I guess I'm going to turn the oven completely off now because I don't think that pork needs to go back in. I think it's at a perfect spot. I am going to go ahead and add that extra slice I took for the picture just to eat it. Oh, the juices coming out of the middle of the pork have got some of the sweetness from the marinade. Not a ton, just a little bit. So it definitely penetrated through, which is, I'm sure, helped. I'm sure helped it tenderize. Because if we hadn't had any tenderizing agents in the marinade, I think we would have had to braise it longer to achieve this kind of tender result. That's real good. That's real good, guys. And it was super easy. It was actually so easy that it would have been boring to show you just that part of it. Because I would have been standing here for an hour and a half, and the marinade was just in a bag overnight, and that was it. Basically, you just have to plan ahead. You could make something just as good as this guy. You can make something just as good as this guy, and all you've got to do is plan ahead. There was no like crazy technique involved. You don't even need a fancy dish like I used with a lid on it. You could just use a tinfoil tent to put on top for the second part when you're just braising it. I had the fancy dish, so I used it, but you could do that with a standard pan, any old standard pan, and a oven safe pan, and a tinfoil tent, or an all steel frying pan with make sure it's got a steel handle that has a lid would also work perfectly for that. Super easy. And it's noon, and we came up right on noon, and it's been 2 hours. So let's see who's up and about. Violet is still on. We could go raid Violet. We raided Violet last time. I think we're gonna go raid unless someone has a stellar suggestion. I was thinking we're gonna go raid Cookie, who is not cooking. None of the cook. None of my follow channels right now are cooking. Cookie is playing Medieval Dynasty. Cookie is delightful. Oh, here I can hold off the raid for just a sec. we were just about to raid Miss Sepsi. We made here. What we have here is a stir-fried mango, coconut mango stir-fried noodles with bunch of seasonings in there. And these guys on top are actually this is a better camera for it. It is not directly overhead. Are slices of this beastie, which is a pork belly that I marinated overnight in honey, soy sauce, miso, and a bunch of spices. And then we braised it, and it only took me about an hour and a half to braise it, which is a very quick braise for something like that. Um, it's real good. It's real good. I was amazed at how easy this was to pull off. I thought it was going to be a little bit more fiddly. This was easy peasy. The stir fry part was a little bit more complicated. I'm gonna have to do the walk. I think this would be a good starter for like a soup. Slice of that on top of a ramen. Um, but yeah, that's what we made. That's what we cooked up today. I also made coffee. It wasn't really an event. I killed some time at the beginning. I made some coffee, which we still got here because I forgot to finish off the cup. But welcome in, even though it's the very end. I was just about to go raid our friend Cookie. Yeah. Well, this definitely was an exciting. Started out moving kind of slow. I'm sure the coffee helped, but by the end now I'm perked up and ready to go. I think I've kicked that little bit of a hangover from the St. Patrick's festivities. Uh, when I woke up this morning, I was like, "Oh, I might cancel this morning." And then I looked at the clock, and it was only 8 o'clock. So I was like, "Okay, I've got 2 hours to sort of get my head in the right position to soldier forward." If I had woken up in that state and it had been like 9:30, I would have just said, "Screw it." But I woke up with plenty of time to sort of get my head on straight, um, which is great because I was glad to do this. Um, oh, hey, while I'm thinking about it, Shining Spear has been great. I should do a shout out. Eh, shout out. And stop that. Hold on. I stopped the raid. I'm shouting out friend of the channel, Shining Spear, who has been streaming over on their own channel. Uh, Slay. Everyone's coming in right at the end. Um, Slay. I just shouted out friend of the channel, Shining Spirit. Can I shout out right away? I probably can't shout out immediately. I have to wait a minute for. Okay, I can't shout out Slay. Slay, welcome in. We were just about to wrap up because I cooked a delicious feast. Here, I'll show you. Um, this was the main event. Pork belly I started marinating last night, and then we braised it today. It's a soy, miso, honey, something, something, a bunch of spices marinade. Um, threw that in for a braise, and then I made a coconut mango stir fry, noodle stir fry, and then we've sliced up the pork and sitting on top. Um, think this is the better. Yeah, there'll be photos up. There'll be photos going up. If you ever miss photos, I post photos of all my food on Twitter, and I'm working on a better place because Twitter has become a bit of a cesspit these days. Um, but I want to eat this while it's still hot. So I was just about to wrap up, and people are streaming in. Welcome in, everyone. And then we shouted out friend of the channel, Shining Spear, who's been streaming his own content. Whatchamacallit games, Metroidvania games, bunch of Metroidvania games, all different ones. They've looked pretty good. They're ones I'd never heard of, but they looked pretty good. And then we were just about to raid Cookie, so we're gonna fire that up again. And I'm gonna chatter my way out the outro. Okay, no more delays. If you come in late again, you get cut off by the raid going out. We're gonna go say hi to Cookie, and then I'm gonna eat this food before it gets cold. And we're gonna pack up the rest of that guy because he's super delicious, and I would hate for him to dry out sitting on the countertop. But yeah, that was the plan there. We pulled it off. I had a nebulous idea when I started, but I think we pulled it together. Cookie's playing Medieval Dynasty, which I am only tangentially aware of. So I can't tell you much about the game. Cookie is lovely. She's some kind of combination of French and Scottish. I can never remember. So we're headed across the pond somewhere to talk to Cookie. Slay, who just popped in, also streams. He's been playing. Last I saw, it was Kerbal, the new Kerbal game. That was very exciting. He's on much later in the evening, usually. So check him out. Oop! And then we lose our raid to the raid.